What if I told you that the world's greatest empires weren't just built on power and glory, but on terrifying secrets they never wanted you to know? Mass disappearances, forbidden experiments, and cover-ups that make your spine shiver. These are the horrifying truths they tried to erase from history. But tonight, we're exposing them all. Let's begin the countdown of the top 10 darkest secrets of the world's most powerful empires. Number 10. The Roman Empire's vanishing legion, a whole army that disappeared without a trace. The Roman Empire was one of the greatest civilizations in history, but even it had secrets so disturbing that history books refused to explain them. One such mystery? The lost Ninth Legion, a Roman military force of over 5,000 trained soldiers that completely disappeared and was never seen again. These were not ordinary men. This was an elite fighting force, a war machine that had conquered lands from Europe to North Africa. Then one day, while marching into the dark and unforgiving lands of Britain, they simply vanished. No bodies, no battle remains, no survivors. It was as if the earth had swallowed them whole. Some say they were ambushed and wiped out. Others believe something much darker happened, a ritualistic sacrifice by the native tribes, where their bodies were never found because they were completely dismembered and burned in secret ceremonies. But here's the most terrifying part. Centuries later, strange Roman-style weapons were found in places the legion was never supposed to be, as if some of them had escaped, or had been taken somewhere else entirely. But what happened to them? The answer remains a chilling mystery. But trust me, the next one on our list is even more terrifying. Number 9. The British Empire's starvation experiment, 1 million people used as lab rats. The British Empire, known for its vast reach, was responsible for some of the darkest events in history. But what if I told you that one of the worst wasn't a war, but an experiment? During World War II, British officials used the people of Bengal, India, as human test subjects in one of the most horrifying starvation experiments in history. In 1943, a famine struck Bengal, killing over 3 million people. But what most people don't know is that this wasn't just a natural disaster. The British government deliberately refused to send food supplies, even though they had enough to stop the deaths. Historians later found shocking documents that revealed a terrifying reason behind this inaction. British scientists were studying how long humans could survive without food before total organ failure. Bengal was turned into a living laboratory where millions perished in agony, also that data could be collected for future wars. Even more horrifying? Some British officials openly discussed the famine's effects, comparing it to a useful opportunity to study mass starvation. The experiment succeeded, but at a cost so horrifying, it was buried deep within classified records for decades. And if you think that's shocking, the next empire on our list was even worse. Number 8. The Soviet Union's secret city, a place that never existed. Until it was too late. Imagine waking up one day to find out that your entire city never existed. That's exactly what happened in the Soviet Union. There was a place called City 40, a highly classified town that wasn't on any map, had no official records, and didn't exist in the Soviet Union's documents. But inside this hidden ghost town, scientists were conducting forbidden experiments with radiation, research so dangerous that the people living there were slowly being poisoned without even knowing it. The residents were told they were working for national security. In reality, they were human test subjects in one of the deadliest nuclear experiments of all time. For years, entire families started suffering from strange illnesses. Their skin became covered in sores, their bones became brittle, and their hair fell out in clumps. Some even reported seeing strange glowing figures at night, wandering the city like ghosts. By the time the world found out about City 40, it was already too late. Thousands of people had died, their bodies permanently marked by radiation exposure. And the worst part? The city still exists, and people still live there today, unknowingly breathing in poison. But hold on. What if I told you that one of the world's most famous ancient civilizations had an even darker secret? Number 7. The Mayan human sacrifice pits, the underground chambers of horror. The Mayan civilization was known for its advanced knowledge of astronomy and engineering. But beneath its towering pyramids, they hid something truly horrifying. Deep in the jungles of Central America, explorers have discovered bottomless pits filled with human bones. These weren't mass graves, they were sacrifice pits, where thousands of people were thrown in alive. Victims, often women and children, were drugged, tied up, and hurled into the pits, where they would break their bones on impact, but remain alive. Some would survive for days, screaming in the darkness while the Mayan priests listened to their cries as part of their rituals. Even worse, when scientists studied the pits, they found scratch marks on the stone walls, evidence that some victims had tried to climb out, only to fail and die in agony. And here's where it gets even more terrifying. Some of these pits were connected to underground tunnels, leading to chambers where Mayan rulers drank the blood of their victims, believing it gave them divine power. But if you think that's shocking, wait until you hear about the next empire, a place where the dead never truly rested. Number 6. The Egyptian mummies that weren't really dead. The Egyptian pharaohs were obsessed with life after death, but what if I told you that some of their mummies weren't actually dead when they were wrapped up? Historians have recently uncovered evidence suggesting that in some cases, royal servants, guards, and even family members were mummified alive. They weren't poisoned, they weren't knocked unconscious. They were wrapped, layer by layer, as they screamed inside. Scientists found scratch marks inside sarcophagi, proving that some mummies tried to claw their way out. But here's the most terrifying part. When they tested some of the bodies, they found abnormal levels of adrenaline in their tissue, suggesting that these victims were in a state of extreme fear when they died. But why? Some believe that certain pharaohs wanted their most loyal followers to serve them in the afterlife, whether they wanted to or not. And if you think that's horrifying, wait until we get to our final 5 secrets, each one more disturbing than the last. Number 5. The Aztec Skull Towers. A city built on human heads. The Aztecs were feared for their brutality, but nothing compares to what archaeologists uncovered beneath modern-day Mexico City. Entire towers made of human skulls. When Spanish conquistadors first arrived in the 15th century, they wrote about massive pyramids of bones rising above the city. But historians dismissed these accounts as exaggerations, until 2015, when researchers found them buried beneath the ruins of the ancient Aztec capital, Tenochtitlan. These weren't just a few skulls. We're talking about thousands, layered, stacked, and cemented together. And here's the most horrifying part. Many of the skulls belonged to women and children. It turns out the Aztecs didn't just sacrifice warriors, they sacrificed entire families. The victims were taken to the top of the Great Temple, where their hearts were cut out while still beating. Then their bodies were tossed down the pyramid, their heads later carved clean and added to the skull towers, which were meant to feed the gods. But what's even more chilling? Some skulls show signs of healing, meaning certain victims had survived earlier sacrifices, only to be used again. Now, if that doesn't send shivers down your spine, wait until you hear about the empire that committed one of history's greatest cover-ups. Number 4. The Nazi occult experiments, a gateway to the unknown. The horrors of Nazi Germany are well documented, but there's one aspect of their rule that remains buried: their obsession with the supernatural. Top Nazi officials, including Adolf Hitler himself, believed that dark rituals could make them invincible. The SS had an entire division dedicated to occult experiments, searching for ways to summon ancient forces, unlock mind control, and even resurrect the dead. One of their most terrifying projects? Himmler's castle rituals. Deep in a remote fortress in Germany, Nazi officers conducted bizarre ceremonies, sacrificing animals, and possibly humans, to open a portal to another dimension. Documents recovered after the war describe strange lights and sounds, and test subjects who vanished without a trace. Some soldiers even claimed that they saw shadowy figures walking the halls, creatures that weren't entirely human. And here's where it gets even darker. The SS believed they had succeeded. High-ranking officials refused to enter certain rooms, fearing they had become gateways to something beyond comprehension. But if you think that's unsettling, the next empire on our list committed one of the most unforgivable crimes in history. Number 3. The United States human experimentation, the nightmare of Project MK Ultra. The United States is often seen as the land of freedom, but behind closed doors, the government has conducted horrifying experiments on its own people. During the Cold War, the CIA launched Project MK Ultra, a top-secret program to control the human mind. Victims, often mental patients, prisoners, and even unsuspecting civilians, were given high doses of LSD, locked in rooms with flashing lights and disturbing sounds for weeks, and subjected to electroshock therapy so severe, Some lost their ability to speak. The goal? To create real-life Manchurian candidates, mind-controlled assassins who wouldn't even know they were being used. Some subjects were trained to kill on command, with trigger phrases implanted deep in their subconscious. And when the program was exposed, the CIA burned thousands of documents to hide the full extent of their crimes. Even more terrifying? Some believe MKUltra never really stopped. It just went deeper underground. But if you think that's scary, the next empire was responsible for one of the most disturbing mass kidnappings in history. Number 2. The Ottoman Empire's stolen children. The Janissary horror. The Ottoman Empire was one of the most powerful forces in history, but its military was built on a horrifying foundation: kidnapped children. Known as the Devshirme system, Ottoman soldiers would raid Christian villages, ripping young boys away from their families. These children, some as young as 6 years old, were taken to the empire's capital and forcibly converted to Islam. But that was just the beginning. The boys were subjected to brutal training, stripped of their past identities, and turned into Janissaries, an elite fighting force that served the Sultan without question. By the time they became soldiers, they had no memory of their real families. Some were even forced to fight their own relatives in battle, unknowingly killing their own blood. And the worst part? Many of these boys became so brainwashed, they willingly helped the Ottomans continue the cycle, stealing even more children for the empire. But now, we've reached the darkest secret of all, one that might change the way you see history forever. Number 1. The Chinese Empire's ghost cities, built for the dead. China has built hundreds of massive cities, complete with skyscrapers, roads, and shopping malls. But there's just one problem. No one lives there. These ghost cities are scattered across China, entire metropolises that should be teeming with life, yet remain completely empty. The official explanation? They were built in anticipation of future populations. But conspiracy theories suggest something far more sinister. Some believe these cities weren't meant for the living at all, but for the spirits of the dead. Ancient Chinese emperors believed in building grand tombs for themselves. But what if modern rulers have expanded this idea? Some researchers claim these ghost cities align eerily with ancient burial sites, as if they were constructed to house the souls of the departed. And here's where it gets even creepier. Locals who visited these cities report hearing whispers in the empty streets, strange figures moving in abandoned buildings, and lights turning on in windows, even though no one lives there. Could these cities be part of a secret government project? Or are they proof that the Chinese Empire is still following ancient supernatural traditions on a scale larger than anyone could have imagined? That's it for today's countdown of the top 10 darkest secrets of the world's most powerful empires. Which of these shocking secrets disturbed you the most? Do you believe some of them were covered up to this day? Let us know in the comments. And before you go, please subscribe, because hitting your subscribe button can give me new motivation to work harder and succeed. Plus, tell me what top 10 topic you'd like me to cover next. I always read your suggestions. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.